Courtois, I think had a great game. Courtois had to save our butts how many times? And I kept on saying it throughout the stream. You guys are here with me, and I'm pretty sure I'm super annoying to you guys. I told you multiple times that their forwards were picking up the ball in this half space, right? They were picking up this ball in this half space, and it's the center back's responsibility to alert either the CDM, well, it's really the CDM and the center back should both understand that there's someone lurking around here. You always have to look over your shoulder, left or right, right? Especially in the case that we're playing actually two holdings. Like, this should not have happened. Look, 8.8, of course, Courtois. So most of the times they were collecting this ball in this half space, and it was always coming in this little half space right here, right? So at the time, it should be Tchouaméni has to either step into this half space and tell the outside back to pinch in or have them shift in, or you tell Tchouaméni was at this point at this position at the time, or tell whoever is the holding mid, was going to be Arda, was going to be Valverde, that one of you needs to drop back in and fill up this space, because every single time they're picking up the ball in this half space, and then it's like some kind of loss of possession. They look up, they find the person in the half space. This person is able to turn, look up, line himself a shot, and then shoot at Courtois. Courtois, at the amount of times that their forwards were able to take a shot right at the edge of our box, was way too many. And then obviously, if they have 6, 7, 8 shots in this little half space, that they're eventually, one is going to get a deflection, one's going to nick off another player, and then it was a goal. So there goes our clean sheet. So Courtois, I think, had an excellent game. I think his most notable save was the double save. Courtois, best goalkeeper in the world. I expect nothing less, but I feel that he's getting really tired of having to do this and bail us out, because we should not be putting him in these positions all the time. I thought Fran Garcia has probably been Fran Garcia and Huijsen have been our two best defenders this entire tournament. Fran Garcia has to have the highest level of conditioning on this team. This guy runs all game. He's running he's lung bursting runs, forward, back, tracking, pressing, covering for this player, recovery runs. I think he didn't put a foot wrong this game. I think he's doing excellent. What I thought, I was once of a belief, especially last year, that Fran wasn't of the level of Real Madrid, at least as a starter. And I was like, if you can get Carreras and Grimaldo, then yeah, maybe we have a conversation, maybe letting Mendy and Fran go. But I think Fran is doing amazing. Obviously, when Carreras comes into the team, hopefully, he may not have a starting spot, but they can definitely rotate. I think he's doing an excellent job so far. Hausen, man. Hausen, I don't know. He might be the signing of the season for us. The signing of the year. He is integral to everything that we do. His ability to ball progress and play balls and line breaking passes and balls over the top. He's just so calm and so cool, calm and collected, and being able to actually dribble through lines of pressure or be able to be press resistant against a lot of these other teams that are trying to press us because they think that's one of our weaknesses. He's able to actually carry the ball through those lines of press and be able to pass the ball to Jude in great half spaces, or Vinicius in great half spaces. That ball out to who was it? Was it to Vinny? I think he dribbled by one or two lines of pressure, and then he's able to slip. Who was it? Fran Garcia? I forgot exactly who, but the one where he played the ball, I think it was to Fran Garcia, and then Fran Garcia played it to Vinicius. I'm not exactly sure, but the one that led up to the goal that started with Hausen, and that was just due to the fact that he's very composed on the ball. I think he's doing an excellent job. He hasn't put much of a foot wrong. I do think just a concern for him would be the fact is that he is not the quickest player. So if he's going to be, there always needs to be someone on covering for him, especially if a lot of these other teams are going to watch film and they're going to notice our biggest weaknesses obviously is the ball over the top, because both of our center backs at the time was Tchouaméni and Hausen are both not extremely fast, especially if you have a pacey winger or you have someone playing on the shoulder of one of these defenders, and if they have time to look up and literally play a ball in between here or the ball over top, they're most likely going to get it unless Courtois is very alert to the fact is that they're going to be trying to play that ball over the top. Asensio, horror show of a tournament so far. I know last game I think he was really sick. I think he had the same kind of fever or stomach bug or whatever that Mbappe had, and he was on antibiotics. So you kind of give him a pass for the penalty. I thought the penalty was a little weak from last game. And then once again today, a horror show. You got a straight red, like 5-10 minutes into the game, and really put us on the back foot. I'm very disappointed, honestly. But he needs to do a lot better. Hopefully, he can learn from this. I know that he's young. I know he's 22. 22 isn't really young. It is young, but with how young a lot of these players are coming nowadays, 22 isn't that young. He should know a little bit better. He's been playing on the first team football for a while now. He needs to be put in better situations. He needs to have better positioning, and he needs to speak with Dean Housen a lot more communication, knowing when to push up if we're going to try to do an offside trap. Like for the red card, what ended up happening was that Asensio was trying to pull the guy off, right? He tried to do an offside trap. Housen didn't hear, or they were not in sync, and Housen actually kept him on. So he stepped up, Housen didn't, and then obviously the forward here was able to make that run. They spotted the run in behind Housen, ball over the top. This forward was able to get on top of it. Asensio with his recovery pace was able to try to get back into position, but then once again he pulled him, he bumped him enough, or able to cause a foul. It was a red card. So that really came about from the miscommunication between the two center backs right here. Trent, I don't know why he got a 6.9. I don't think he did very much wrong. He didn't really get beat off the dribble. He wasn't they weren't attacking down this flank a lot. I think this is more so just because if he's kind of doing two jobs, he's inverting a little bit, but he's not really there's opportunities for him to overlap, but he's not overlapping because he's not the quickest. I think because he's not trying to get beat off the dribble or leave a lot of space. He got essentially a pre-assist, so I thought his score would be a little bit higher. I don't know why he got a 6.9, but I think he's just playing it safe. I think the fact is it's new teammates, new league. This is obviously, he's been playing at Liverpool his entire life, so he's known this, he's known the system, he's known the environment. He's completely, it's a different language. I think he'll eventually get there. I think he's just trying to play it safe and try not to make a mistake, especially with all of the eyes of the world. Literally, you look on the trend, the timeline, and you're seeing all these people oh yeah, hate watch. So I think some of that is affecting him, and I think he's trying to play it safe. But nonetheless, I thought he did all right. And I'm just expecting more as more games happen, more practices happen. He gets more accustomed to the team and what the tactics are. He's eventually going to show his quality. Tchouaméni, for the very little time he was in CDM, I thought he did all right. As a center back, I think he's great as a center back. I think he's good. I think he can be a passing center back, a deep lying passing center back. I think that probably would be his best spot until we figure out this center back situation. I know Rudiger just came back from injury. He's only going to be here for probably another year. I know that the club was talking about potentially asking him for another year renewal. But I've also heard that he's interested in going to the Saudi League. So that's something that we really need to discuss. We need to discuss if we see Asensio as a starter in the future. Obviously 2 games is not going to derail what he did last season for us, but I think that's something that we definitely need to have a conversation about. I think that we need a pacey. We need more defenders, right? Because Alaba is not counted on, right? Rudiger is going to leave. Militao, we still haven't seen him in essentially 2 years. Yeah, he came back a little bit, but immediately got injured again. 2 ACLs on opposite legs. I've never seen anyone. I bet you rarely see people come back from ACLs, but 2 ACLs. On 2 separate legs is something that I've never seen. So hopefully he can come back. We'll see what kind of level he's at. But currently we're losing at least 3 center backs, so we need to fill those in. And another thing is even with getting that red card, the coach has opted to bring Tchouaméni back into a center back rather than using Jacobo Ramon, right? So I'm not saying that we're only 2 games in, but these were the times to use those players in the group stage, because that they're not going to see any of the field when it comes to the knockout rounds. So I have to think that just from training and from what Xabi Alonso, and him and his staff have seen, that these players are not at the level yet. They are squad. They're not even. They're squad players, but they're still the Castilla level. We haven't seen Fortea. We haven't seen Yusi. We haven't seen Aguado. We haven't seen Jacobo Ramon. So, that's something that I think we need to address sooner rather than later. I know a lot of people are saying that, yeah, we don't need it, but maybe the solution is you bring Tchouaméni back as a ball playing center back. Huijsen and Tchouaméni being able to play out of the back, that might be a solution. Maybe not be the entire solution, but that could be one of the solutions that we go for. And then we have Camavinga that's able to slot into this holding role with whomever's going to be. It might be a Camavinga and Arda Güler might be your holding, right? If you want to go that route. So then you can have Valverde and then in Bellingham, still play the advanced role if you need it to be. Then I'm not exactly sure, but I'm just saying that maybe that might be one of the solutions. I thought Tchouaméni had a good match. Obviously, they need to form this chemistry a little bit stronger. I'm assuming this is what we're going to be going with for the next game and then the games going forward. I'm not exactly happy about that. We'll see if Rudiger is going to play probably more minutes. You probably play a half next game, depending on how well we're doing against Salzburg. That's obviously it's a must-win game. We definitely have to win that game because even with the win and the tie, we're still not guaranteed into the next round. So we need to do our utmost best to make sure that we're at least we come in first place because we don't want any surprises in having to play any of the big boys come the quarterfinals, right? Jude Bellingham, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what his position is, and I still think he's trying to figure out his position as well. I know, he's tasked to be the advanced midfielder, but he's also when in defense, he's supposed to be it's like a 4-1-4-1, I believe. So picking and choosing when to advance, I think that's something that's going to take a little bit more time, but I thought he took on his goal excellently well. I thought the whole team played for his goal, being able to take the excellent touch forward past the man and be able to slot it in with his left foot to the side corner was an excellent show of composure on his weak foot. So I thought, 8.3 I think is deserved. I think he did a lot of hard running, and I was actually surprised that they took him out in the 16th minute. Arda Güler, excellent. For me, I think he had an excellent game. Especially in that new holding role. I don't know if it's holding or if it's more of like a free role with him. Because like I said, he would be picking up the ball in positions over here with Fran Garcia and Huijsen. He would be picking up the ball from Tchouaméni and Alexander-Arnold. But then also on his goal, you see him already popping up inside the box. So he might just have a free creative role just to really just ball progress. He's probably Xabi Alonso is probably allowing him to use his footballing intelligence to really try to figure out when and where to get on the ball. And I think a quote that came out earlier, I think it was yesterday from the press conference, was essentially that Xabi Alonso says that Arda Güler, we just need to put Arda Güler into position to where he can get onto the ball. So that goes along with a lot of his footballing IQ. It's okay, if I can recognize the team needs help progressing out of this position, I need to be there to be able to get the ball and be able to keep the ball ticking. If I need to pick up the ball here, I can play Jude into these half spaces. I'll go click the ball, let's pass it to Vinicius, and then if I do see that there's an opportunity for me to go advance and obviously get onto the ball in zone 14 right here, be able to shoot or be able to pass it on, or even I get the second goal he scored. That all comes down to the whole free role that I think that Xabi Alonso kind of wants him to have. I kind of likened it a little bit to Wirtz, where Wirtz essentially was the left winger for Bayer Leverkusen, but you saw him collecting the ball from deep. He was collecting the ball from the center backs. He was collecting the ball from Granit Xhaka. He was over here. He was all over the pitch. Right, his starting position might have been here, but Xabi Alonso allowed him to have the free role or the creative role to really be able to pick up the ball where he sees fit and be able to really influence the game as much as possible. And I think that's what that Arda Güler did. So I'm really happy to see Arda Güler in the lineup. Am I wearing Arda Güler right now? Oh no, this is Mbappe. That's Mbappe. But I'm really happy that Arda Güler got the opportunity to start. It needs to happen more and more often. He needs to be starting the games, and if you need to take him out, do that rather than having us suffer and not being able to ball progress really well and then bring him in. So I thought he did an excellent job, and hopefully he'll start again. Valverde, I thought he did well. I think he did well with his goal. A lot of covering. He did a lot of hard miles. I saw that he was holding his calf, so that's not good. But I'm glad to see that he's getting better and better in his new role, and hopefully, not even hopefully, next game when we actually have we're not down a man, we can actually see a lot of the improvement that they're putting in practice. Gonzalo Garcia is another player that I thought having an excellent tournament. Both Garcias and Housen are like my MVPs for this tournament. Right, Housen, Ferran Garcia, and Gonzalo Garcia. Gonzalo Garcia was brought in as I don't think a lot of people thought that he would have a lot of minutes because obviously I believe the intention would be to have Mbappe in this position. But with the absence of Mbappe, Gonzalo Garcia has taken this opportunity with two hands and he's going with it. He's running with it. Every single time that we go forward, we see that he's pressing, he's showing, he's trying to connect with other teammates. He's being unselfish and laying the ball off to whether it be Vinicius, where he's laying off the ball to Jude, whether he's laying off the ball to Arda Güler. He's doing everything that he needs to be for the team, and that's exactly what I feel like we need to see more of. I'm not saying other players are doing that, but I'm just saying that he understands that he has a role to play, and ultimately it will benefit him if the actions which he does benefits the team. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. And unfortunately, he got taken off in the 46th minute, just obviously because we needed to move Vinicius into the central role, so we have more bodies behind the ball in case we needed to press. But I thought he played an excellent game, and I think he just needs to continue. On the topic of whether do we need another striker, I still do think that we need Budimir. I've seen some tweets where I think some people are getting overly excited. We're like, oh yeah, we have Gonzalo Garcia. We don't need anyone else. We don't need anyone else. I'm not exactly sure. We're playing Pachuca, right? I think if we're honest with ourselves, this isn't the highest and the most elite team we're going to be facing. When we get into the latter stages of the Champions League, if we get into the latter stages of the Copa del Rey, or essentially we're going to be playing Barcelona or Atletico Madrid. I'm not saying that Gonzalo Garcia will not have an impact, but I would feel a lot more comfortable having maybe him be the player that comes off the bench for a Budimir, right? I would rather have a 6'3", experienced, not multiple times, but I mean, at least he's close to the Pichichi race. Like, he had 21 goals this year. He's always consistently had 15 plus goals, right, for Osasuna over these years. He's reliable. You know what you're going to get, an extreme aerial threat. And with the addition of having someone of that size and someone with that presence in the box, you can then really exploit what Trent's strengths are, which is crossing the ball, right? Like, us right now, having this front line is not getting the best out of Trent. Right? So if we're not going to get the best out of Trent, we might as well play Carvajal then. Just play Carvajal and then have Carvajal overlap if we're not going to utilize what Trent's strengths are, in my opinion. Keep Garcia, have him come off the bench. Or Budimir doesn't have to start every game. You can probably even have Garcia for most of the games, and if you want, and then hey, we still can't break down this low block, then you put a Budimir here who's 6'3", have to start spamming crosses in, we'll score. Because Budimir is an excellent aerial threat. That's my opinion. I think you keep him, and I think we need to have a real conversation about what we expect of Endrick going into this next year. I know he's recovering from injury. He's not even in the United States. He's going through not physical therapy, but he's recovering back in Valdebebas. But what Gonzalo Garcia is showing is that he's had quite a bit of an impact with the first team so far, and that's more than I could say about Endrick. Vinicius, I thought Vinicius had a good game as well. Once again, he didn't get in a goal, did he get an assist in this game? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if he got a goal. I don't believe he got a goal or assist in this game. But even without any GA, I thought he was excellent down that left-handed side, and that's exactly what I was saying. I'm not here to kind of talk about Rodrigo. I mean, we are going to talk about Rodrigo, but I'm not here to really shit on Rodrigo. That's not my point. I want Rodrigo to stay. I've said that I wanted Rodrigo to stay. I just said that he cannot have these kind of demands of I need to start on the left, or I need this kind of salary. It's like, brother, you haven't earned the salary you haven't earned the place to be here. Even your numbers aren't starting Madrid numbers for a right forward, right? And but I digress. That's gonna be a whole nother topic. I thought that Vinicius, even if Vinicius isn't on the scoreboard, he's such a disruptor on that left-hand side that you just want 1v1. You want there's maybe 3 players in the world, 1v1 that you every time you give him the ball, you expect him to do something. It's gonna be Vinicius Jr., probably the best 1v1 player in the world, Lamine Yamal, and Mbappe. So at all times, if Vinicius, and I think Xabi Alonso is very smart for identifying the fact is that this guy is a unicorn, or one of them. Where it's you put him here, let him hug this flank, have Trent pick up the ball here, or Tchouaméni or Arda Güler. I think even for the goal, it was Arda Güler is the one who played Vinicius over here on that 1v1, and he absolutely cooked. He absolutely cooked this outside fullback, and just let him go to town. Let him be Vinicius. Let him be dangerous in these parts of the field, right? I don't want Vinicius dribbling back here. I want Vinicius picking up the ball right around here and causing all kinds of havoc. And I think that's where he's going to be. That's where he's best at. And I think he causes a lot of disruption. He causes a lot of overloads. He beats the first man. That means the second man has to go over. That has to shift over. That leaves someone else open. And that's how we got the goal. So I thought Vinicius was really good. I thought he was relentless. I think that sometimes he can run a little bit more. I think he still has a little bit of cramps. He's not fully fit, so I'm giving him a little bit, a benefit of the doubt here. But I thought he had a good game, and I think that's the difference between Rodrigo and Vinicius. Even if You know, like the one thing about Vinicius, even if he's not being the man, at least you know that he's trying and he's putting the effort in. And if it doesn't go off, it doesn't go off. You're not going to beat your man every single time. But it's the fact is that he's relentlessly going at that person, relentlessly going at that outside back or that center back, so that they understand that they can't just push forward. Right? There are some times where Rodrigo, and whether it is because like he's a right-footed, it's so weird. Like we've gone to the point where like right-footed players can't play on the right wing. Like that's where your dominant side is. It's so weird to me. But like Rodrigo is like over here on the right, and the fact is that he'll phase out of games so often that like that left back can just bomb forward because he knows that Rodrigo is like, you don't have to worry about him on the counter. The center defensive mid on that side doesn't really have to worry about him too much because he phases out for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You know, Vinicius, you know where he is on the pitch at all times. You know, because he's either calling for the ball or he's on the ball or he's making a run. You know, so if anything I could ever give it any kind of advice, and hopefully Xabi Alonso is telling this to Rodrigo, is that you have to ask for the ball. You have to be proactive. You need to get on the ball and cause them to think. You have to cause the left back or the left center back or the left holding mid to always think about where is Rodrigo, right? It's because as soon as they don't think about you, that's a problem. Because at that point, everyone understands that it's only going to go to Vinicius here. So everyone's just going to shift over. Oh yeah, Rodrigo's over there. Yeah, Rodrigo's just going to hug the line. He's not going to do anything. We just have to worry about Vinicius. If we isolate Vinicius from getting the ball or balls in behind, they have nothing, and then they'll be able to press us. So I thought Vinicius had a good match. Overall, it was 3-1. I wish we got the clean sheet. But unfortunately that's not what happened. Hopefully next game we're most likely going to see probably Tchouaméni back in this back line, or probably be Trent, Tchouaméni, Housen, and Fran Garcia, and then we're probably gonna have like Valverde and Güler again here, Bellingham. I don't know, we'll figure that out, but I'm assuming that Tchouaméni is going to be back as one of the center backs. We'll see how Rudiger is, because I know Rudiger had, how many minutes did he end up having this game? Rudiger played about 12 minutes, 15 minutes, so he probably won't start again. It's probably going to be Tchouaméni, and depending on how the game is with the game state, if we're up like 3-0, I can see him like 3-0 by half. I can definitely see Xabi Alonso probably subbing out, whether it be Housen or Tchouaméni, and then putting Rudiger in there to see if we can get more minutes, to see if we can get a match fit, see if we can have him getting some rhythm. But once again, I thought it was an industrious win. We were down since like the first 10 minutes. We're down a man since the first 10 minutes, and I thought that we took our chances. They had a lot of chances. They weren't clinical, and this time we were clinical. That's not something that I could say that we were like last year. Last year, we had chance of a chance of the chance of the chance of the chance, and we couldn't put it away. But this time, the very limited amount of chances that we had, we were able to put them away through a very good team play. So I'm very happy about that. And maybe, I'm not sure if that's just because of the circumstance, and maybe it's the level of the team that we're playing, or maybe it's because there's more space because there's like 9 players on the field. But I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's from the tactics that they're learning in practice. I'm not exactly sure. But I was really happy with a lot of the team play. I think it's better if we have a lot of the goals rather than be consolidated into one player, like an Mbappe or Vinicius or Rodrigo, that is kind of spread amongst the team. So we're a lot more well-balanced team. So like there's a threat on the left, there's a threat through Jude, there's a threat through Arda Güler, who's in a more advanced role, there's a threat through Valverde as well. Gonzalo Garcia can get on the end of crosses. Trent from distance, I'm just really happy with the team. Besides the red card, I'm hoping Asensio can get a little bit better than that. We need to see a lot better than that. If you have aspirations of becoming the starting center back, I think there needs to be a question about whether we bring in more center backs, because I believe we do. I think what we've seen from Xabi Alonso is that he does not, at this point, he trusts Tchouaméni going back into a center back role rather than actually bringing the Castilla players, even at the level when we're playing teams at like the level of Pachuca. It's a little concerning to me. Fran Garcia is starting 90 minutes. You couldn't bring a UC in. You couldn't bring a Forte in for Trent Alexander-Arnold. You'd rather go back into a 3-back. That's a little concerning. And then I think the big thing is, like, I haven't even brought up, is the fact is Rodrigo didn't play a single minute. I don't think I saw him warming up at all. So he went from playing 65 minutes the first game to playing 0 minutes at all. So, I mean, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any comunicado oficiales. I haven't seen any medical reports stating that he has a bug. Maybe he got the bug, or maybe he got the fever, whether he has discomfort after the game. I'm not exactly sure. We didn't see anything. We didn't see anything of him. So that is going to be a story that you're probably going to see on the timeline for the next few days. I'm pretty sure people are going to be like armchair psychologists and watching training videos and seeing, like, you know, if he's kind of distant with Xabi Alonso. We haven't seen Rodrigo have any interview yet. I've, like, you know what, like, I'm not trying to say that I'm reading too much into it, but all of this entire summer has been very weird. And I'll keep on saying it. And if people get angry because they're player FC. I'm not. I'm a Real Madrid fan. We've seen interviews from Vinicius. We've seen interviews from Trent, from Housen, from Ceballos, from Tchouaméni. I already said Jude, right? Valverde, Arda Güler. None from Rodrigo. Right? I look at promotional art. Rodrigo, like, half of his face isn't, like, on for a second. In the New Jersey announcements, the jersey, all the announcements and the reveal of the new jerseys, you see half of his face for half a second, then he's not there. He's not there on any of the graphics, like the big, usually the big graphics for the games, or like when they do the lineups, he's usually there. He's not there. It's the big three. It's Jude, Vinicius, and Mbappe. They're on there. Nothing from Rodrigo. So as much as people want to be like, oh, he's not leaving, I need you guys to tell me the reason why someone who's supposed to be an integral part of the team is in none of any of the promotional material. None of the promotional material, whether it be print, whether it be digital, or whether it be any of the videos. None of them. I'm just saying, I've been watching this team, like I said, since 2008, 17 years. 17 years. This is not normal. It is not normal for someone to go from 65 minutes to 0 minutes unless there's something completely different. Maybe, you know what? Maybe there's a call from Florentino Perez who was like, hey, you know what? Xabi Alonso, Rodrigo is actually hurting his value, so maybe let's not play him and try to see as much, let's see if we can get as much as we can from him. Maybe just don't play him. His stock is going down. 65 minutes. He got an assist, but if you look at all his stats, 0 successful take-ons. He lost all his ground duels, lost all his aerial duels. You just hang it on the right. Yeah, Arsenal's still in. Okay, yeah, Arsenal's still in. Okay, take him out. Maybe that's what's going on. But I don't know. I thought the team played. I mean, for the at least the 10 minutes that we had 11 player, or obviously starting 11 before we lost Asensio. I thought Arda did really well. I think Arda did really well throughout the game. But I think this is probably our strongest lineup because it brings the most amount of possession, the most amount of control and pausa in the midfield is when we're essentially playing with 4. This is the same thing that happened with Zidane, right? Where he actually took out Gareth Bale and had Isco, and Isco would be the wide right, but he was really more of the creative floating in between lines player with Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric. And then you had Isco. Isco would come in from the right side and be able to really dominate the midfield. I think that's probably what Xabi Alonso is going to do in this instance, and it's probably, instead of having Güler all the way out here, it's really going to be Valverde, and then have Güler and Tchouaméni be the two holding, and then Valverde will be the box, the advanced midfielder with Bellingham here. So those are just some of my thoughts. I want to thank everyone here who's still here for watching the stream. It's great, obviously, hearing from some of you guys here in the chat. I will be streaming. I think they're probably doing the post-game press conference. I'll probably have a video up on the main channel on that, so please look out for that. I'll put the link up on X so you guys can check that out as well. It's another game for Xabi Ball. It wasn't the greatest, but we still got the win. It was encouraging that there was a lot of team play. Before we would have to always rely on Vinny, and this game we didn't need to. It was a better, more collective kind of game. A lot of people showing a lot of their qualities, people getting more used to what's going to be asked of them. The press will come eventually. We didn't get to see a lot of it because we lost a man. So obviously, you can't press with a man down because there's always going to be someone available. So why waste your energy? But I think as the days go by, the games go by, we'll eventually see that press. We'll eventually see what Xabi Alonso is trying to implement with his team. But once again, I'm yapping again. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on. If you're watching this on X, follow me. I love this community. I love being able to speak to a lot of you guys about football and what your guys' thoughts on the match. Let me know what transfers you guys think that we need to get. Like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow me if you're on Twitch, and follow me if you're on X. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Allah Madrid y nada más. Peace.